Welcome to the Ranger birthday party. Thank you for coming. My name's fantastic. My name is Wilson Carey. I've got the privilege of being the president of the board here and to work with the most fantastic team that Greg and Emily have put together. Absolutely amazing, and the board is fantastic as well. But I want to thank personally the volunteers and the people who put so much time and effort. Over 21 people have spent over 600 hours redoing the Ranger, and over $90,000 has been spent. And of course, we're always collecting more because it is a boat, and so we're continuing to do that. But I wanted to say personally thank you. The board says thank you. We appreciate all the support, and especially the volunteers. Putting in time like that does make a difference to our museum, to who we are in this harbor as the hub, in our opinion. And thank you.
Doesn't the Ranger look great?
Cheers.
Yeah, wonderful. I hope I look that good at 100, I'll tell you that much. The Ranger came to us actually before we were a Maritime, officially opened our doors. The Morehart family really had faith in the Santa Barbara Maritime Museum, and it was a gift that was made to the museum, and really, from what I was told, was before my time, but really gave legitimacy to us as a museum and put a lot of faith in it. And it is our flagship, our first big donation, and we are very fortunate to have members of the Morehart family here tonight. Thank you for the trusting us with the Ranger, and we hope we are making her look beautiful again. Over the years, a lot of people who have put a lot of effort, time and money into the Ranger are no longer with us, and I just want to pay tribute to those people right now. Jack Morehart, who of course Francie's husband, and I will tell you, 10 years ago we had a 90th anniversary party for the Ranger, and Jack was 93, Francie, and in a wheelchair, and that man crushed my hand, shaking my hand. That man had a strong grip. So in memory of Jack, Barry Schuyler, who really loved the Ranger as well, and Gene, thank you for being here. Gene Schuyler. But Barry no longer with us. When I became the executive director, Ed Venable was the Ranger captain, and I know a lot of you who are in the Ranger crew remember Ed. And Ed was an amazing captain, and always knew where we were on a course out on the water. And then of course we just lost Bill Weber, our Ranger captain. So in honor of all of those, Bill especially, but Bill, Ed, Barry, and Jack, and all the Ranger crew who have gone on, I want to just pay tribute to them with 8 bells. We miss them. With us, but not here today, are two of the main people who are part of this restoration. Jim Spellman, our head captain now, and then Dan Flynn, who really wanted to be.
Hi, I'm Dan Flynn. I'm a volunteer here at the Santa Barbara Maritime Museum. And I guess in nautical terms, you'd say that I was the bosun of the Ranger. I'm helping organize and run the restoration of the boat. One of the great things about doing this restoration is we're constantly finding new things about the boat, including pieces that used to be on the boat that aren't anymore. The running lights were originally kerosene, kind of like the kerosene lanterns down here in the berthing area. We're finding old pieces of wood that crew had stored at their homes because they were woodworkers, but never got around to really bringing back to us. So we're finding a lot of wonderful pieces like this. Original Burmese teak from 1917. All these are being refinished and restored and put back onto the boat. She was the original flagship of the Catalina Tuna Club, where sports fishing was invented way back at the turn of the last century. So she was their original flagship, and because the Catalina Tuna Club was so popular with movie stars of the day, people like Charlie Chaplin, Zane Grey, Errol Flynn, Humphrey Bogart, John Wayne, all fished off of this boat. She really is a piece of maritime history. The original brass kerosene lanterns, of course, Back when she was built, they didn't have electric lights on boats, so we have the original kerosene. A little dangerous nowadays, but we still have them. She has all of her original brass fittings, like the portals. The amount of original stuff that's on this boat is absolutely amazing. There's very little on here that's not original. A great purpose for these volunteers to put in all this time to restore this amazing craft. What got me interested in volunteering for the Ranger? Well, my wife and I are actually new to California and new to Santa Barbara, and we were historians back in St. Louis, Missouri. And when we came out here to the marina for the first time, it literally was love at first sight. We saw the Ranger. We were given an opportunity to actually go out on her with the director of the museum, and we just fell in love. And we said, you know, here's our new historical adventure. We just couldn't think of anything we would rather be doing than working on her.
But was called away, but Marcia is here. Thank you very much. You know, Dan, I don't know how long ago that was, 4 or 5 months ago, came to my office and said, Greg, we really need to do something for the Rangers' 100th anniversary, and I have some time and the willingness to kind of spearhead the effort to head the restoration project. And I'm glad because I didn't have the time to do that. And you know, we have a small staff, and he did an amazing job, as did all of the 21 volunteers.
And I moved to Santa Barbara a year ago with my husband, Dan Flynn. Why did I get involved with the Ranger? Well, Dan and I were walking along the harbor right after we moved here and saw this boat, and I just fell in love with it. We went inside and talked to the volunteer at the front desk, and we ended up signing up. Next thing you know, we're down here just about every Saturday morning, sometimes Sundays, and we're scraping varnish, and we're sanding the boat, and we're cleaning her up. And there is so much to do on this little boat. It's about 40 foot long, and we have right now 5 volunteers working on the boat. And you can do anything. We have a woman who doesn't really work on the boat, but she takes pieces home and polishes them up, and it's all the brass. This boat is loaded with brass. You know, sanding and peeling of paint, cleaning, polishing. Anybody, if you can walk, you can get on this boat and you can work it.
Years. And then there's also a lot of donations to help support the Ranger. So I just want to read very briefly the 21 volunteers who were involved with this, and then what they did. And by far, the person who put the most time in was Tom Elliott.
My name is Tom Elliott. I was in the Marine Corps in 66, 67, served in Vietnam. Oh, why have I volunteered on the Ranger? Well, I've been volunteering at the Maritime Museum for quite a long time. I've done other things in there, and I used to put on demonstration dives with heavy gear because I was a trained heavy gear diver. That was always fun to do. So I've kind of been involved with the museum for quite a while. When they asked for volunteers to be crew on here, I volunteered for that, and which I really enjoy because it's really fun to go out on the 2-hour cruises and show people, especially newcomers who haven't seen much of the town. When we're cruising down the coast, we can point out all the things that they're seeing. And then when they asked for volunteers to work on it for the restoration, I thought, well, it's a natural thing because I've been working on it all this time. So it's been fun, and you meet some good people, and I've really enjoyed it. So this is kind of a nice project for the museum, and for Santa Barbara. You know, we have a really nice maritime museum here, and so if people want to come down and help out, they're always looking for volunteers for all the events and things that they do, and it's a great organization and a good bunch of people.
Thanks, Tom. Yes. Man. But a big thank you, and we can hold our applause at the very end, but thank you to Tom, Laura Koenig.
I'm Laura Koenig. So I volunteer on the Ranger because I love coming down to the harbor, and I love that we're restoring the oldest boat in the harbor, the Ranger. She's 100 years old this year, and it's fun to work on her, and I'm looking forward to seeing how beautiful she's going to look.
Dan Flynn, Glenn Varco, Bob Whiteman, Marcia Callender, Scott Rabe, Cynthia Anna Erickson, Dinah Baumgartner, Ken Baxter, Jennifer Hockey, Ralph Adam, Eric Bridgeford, Jim Spellman, Loring Shelton, David Goulard, Bill Weber, John Ruark, Rupert Leon Edgar, Elliot Homer Bell, Troy Kirby, Jerome Baumgartner.
Dinah Baumgartner. What got me involved in the Ranger? Well, it was probably a dozen years ago. I got to have a ride on the Ranger. It was a cruise for the visitor center personnel. My husband volunteers at the visitor center, so we got a ride on the Ranger. Ed Venable was the captain at that time, a wonderful man, and he asked if any of us would like to drive the boat. Oh, really exciting. So I did, and I loved it. And he said if any of us would like to join and become crew members, all we had to do was join the museum, and then we could become crew members. So I did, and I have been a crew member, and this past year, I got to be a captain. It's a thrill. We take short cruises, 2 hours up and down the coast, and when you're out on the water, enjoying the views of Santa Barbara, it's just spectacular. And wonderful Ed Venable, who's gone now, but oh my God, not forgotten. He was the one who started cruises with the Ranger. He was a lifetime master mariner. He came up from Long Beach, and as a matter of fact, he went to high school with Mike McCormick, who is the captain, has a fishing boat that's in the next spot up. They went to high school together, can you imagine, back down in Long Beach? Anyway, Ed knew everything there was to know about boats, and when he moved to Santa Barbara in retirement, he joined the Maritime Museum just to volunteer, and he noticed this boat sitting out here that had been donated by Jack Moorhart. And he said, what's going on with that boat? Because nobody was doing anything with it, so he came down, worked on it, got it going, and he's the one who started Ranger Cruises. And I'm so thankful he did. Oh, what a treat. What a treat. The Maritime Museum has many, many things to offer. The third Thursday lectures are fascinating, and they're all available from the museum's website if you can't get there, because sometimes we're sold out. They're so good. It's a great, great investment of your time and energy to get down here, enjoy the weather, the view from the 4th floor, and the fascinating subjects inside. You know, a great deal of deep water diving was developed right here in Santa Barbara. You have to come down and learn about it. It's just fascinating. Not just for newcomers, but for folks who've lived here a long time and haven't experienced it. It's fascinating, and it's part of our local history. Come down and enjoy. Volunteers are the backbone of everything we do here. It's what makes it the greatest thing. We wouldn't be able to do the stuff we do without volunteers.
Roy Olmsted, Rem Lon, and Tony Patterson, and I hope I didn't miss anybody. Did I get everybody? And Elliot. Thank you.
Elliot Homer Bell, I heard it.
And so for just an idea of the work that they put in, we have removed all the old varnish, and there was a lot of it, because Bob Whiteman put on a lot of varnish on that boat, I'll tell you.
The boat has been maintained. It has a newer 4-cylinder Yanmar diesel engine in, which is not the original engine. And again, I've been working on the Ranger for a long time. I don't know, 17 years, but I've tried to keep the wood and the wood varnish on the outside and a little bit on the inside, and recently have been working on the overhead, because as I'm sanding, it looks like it's been redone once, painted once in the 100 years. The paint I'm taking off, the chips, just have one coat of paint on it. And at Christmas, we lead the Parade of Lights, and I bring my keyboard and accordion, and we lead the boat parade, which has about 30 boats in it every year. December 2015, the Wooden Boat magazine featured the Ranger here, and it's about 5 pages long. It talks about the Ranger, the history of the Ranger, and the tuna fishing was a big thing back off Long Beach in Southern California way back in the early 1900s. And then it talks about the hull being coated with ferro cement. They had to cover it with chicken wire, and I believe it had to be stainless steel, so it wouldn't rust, but they covered it with the chicken wire. Then they put this ferro cement, which should hold up for a long, long time, unless it gets a little hole in it, then they have to repair it. So anyway, I love coming down here and working on the boat. The Maritime Museum is always getting some new things, new displays, and it's a great place and some interesting people to work with. I think the biggest challenge is keeping the wood up. We're of course sanding all the varnish off now, but just keeping the wood up. I mean, the weather, the sun and the moisture down here, the dampness in the daytime, it takes a toll on the wood. I became a member of the Maritime Museum when it began in the year 2000, so this is 17 years. And I guess with the Ranger, it wasn't long after that, let's say maybe 2003, 2004, so I've been working on the boat since that time. And I love to come down here and spend time and trying to maintain it and keep it looking nice. Favorite thing about the Ranger is that it's wood. It's 100 years old. I love old wood boats, and I like the design of it. It's classy. People who are interested in the boat and are willing to put in some time sanding and varnishing and painting and anything that the boat takes. I hope that people who come down here, tourists and residents and just everyone who comes down enjoys looking at the Ranger. As a person is working on this, a lot of times people walking along the gangway there will start a conversation, and they're interested. They'll ask questions and that kind of thing. And so there's interest in the fact that it is an old wood boat and it's classy.
When we sanded and revarnished it,
what we did is a few years ago we replaced the trunk cabin. A group of fishermen, they were having some problems with it leaking a lot, so we fixed it. We covered the original deck over with epoxy, plywood, and then fiberglassed it and sealed it up real good. So I think it stopped it. Every time it had rained, the whole cabin was like a shower down inside. Because it was the original deck with canvas over it. In the old days, they didn't have fiberglass; they just had canvas, and they'd paint the canvas, and the canvas was all rotten. It came loose, and so it was time to fix it. So we fixed that part of it. Yeah, it's a big improvement. I mean, you had 50 years of varnish on there. That's the problem. They kept varnishing over varnish, and it didn't look good. And sometimes they'll get cracks and stuff, and water will go right through underneath it. So you have to, at some time in your life, start over. And that's one of the things that they just did to it. It improves the looks of it a lot. I came to celebrate the birthday of the Ranger. It's sad to see old boats just get left and fall apart. And that's what you see all the time in old wood boats. And it's nice to see that somebody takes care of an old boat.
We put in new anchor chain, new anchor boxes, new ladder steps along the mast, refinished the butterfly hatch, replaced glass in the cabin and butterfly hatch, replaced window trim, cleaned the brass cleats and fittings, repainted the deck, and cleaned the lower deck and cushions and chairs. So, and it's not done, but it looks great. So again, thank you. It's never done. That's right. So it's a birthday party, and if you haven't seen the birthday cake, take a look because it's got the picture of the Ranger. But let's all sing "Happy Birthday to the Ranger." Are we ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.